All right, so we're going to take a look at our Monday trade to see if there was anything to do, and if so, what happened. So the middle of the three horizontal lines on your screen is the New York close from Friday. Then as the pair moves to the right of that vertical line, uh, we will see it move either beyond the upper line or below the lower line. And indeed, what has happened, it has moved below the lower line. Now, what we did when London opened was it was right at this 3 o'clock hour and just not so much activity established yet. So we were waiting to see if we could establish a bit more of a low. And especially since the pair went back up above that 30 pip mark, it was just good to wait out. And so we waited until just before 6 a.m. And you can see we have a strong move up here, and maybe I should do an oval just so that we can see what I'm talking about. All right. So this oval, uh, not really much of an established low here, and it went back above the 30 pips away line. So we waited for it to come back down, and then it definitely established a low, and you can see it now moving higher. And so we were able to get in on this last green bar before that red bar, just before 6 a.m. Eastern time, at 136.048. So let's put that horizontal line in the chart, 136.048. All right, 47, close enough. So 136.047. Now, that meant our stop loss was 135, no, 130, yes, oh 04 minus 20. So 20 pips now is our stop loss. So that would have been 85. So 135, 857, 84, excuse me, 847. So let's just see where that line gets drawn. Let's go ahead and put in another horizontal line. And so we'll make it 20 pips below the entry level, which is 84. 84. All right, 848. Okay. So you can see, first of all, the good news is that we never went below that line for the rest of the day, or at least until as far as you can see to the right at the moment. So this was a good trade entry point. Now, the next thing we'll do is we'll draw the take profit line, which would have been 30 pips above our entry. So our entry was 136.047. I think it was actually 048, but let's go ahead and draw that line in here and see where that might be. So it would be 3, 4, 7, or 8. So can we get either one of those? Okay, 3, 4, 6, we'll call it. Close enough. Okay, so now uh, as the day moved on, we were able to see this gain here and then a little consolidation. And then it moved up. So this is 10 a.m. Eastern time, and it closed us out for a win. So it would have been a loss of $48 off our 2000 stake, or a win of $72. So it was a win of $72 by closing out with our 1.5 to 1 uh, gain to loss risk. But there's something that I want you to take note of. So we settled for 1.5, which is 1.5 of a ratio. So 20 pip loss or 30 pip take profit. So that's good. So we were successful for the day. But remember, this method is based on the pair revisiting the New York closing price. Now, if you've forgotten because of all these horizontal lines, the New York closing price was, let's see if I can get this back here. Now I'm making a mess. All right, the New York closing price was up here. So we closed out at this line with our take profit for the day, but notice what the pair did. The pair did go back up and touch the New York close. Now, what it did after that is it moved lower, and you can see it moved lower and lower and back below our entry price for the day. But it did go all the way up there, and that is another 34 to 46. That is another 12 pips that it went up because it did get all the way. So at some point, we'll talk about some strategies about how we can make not just a take profit of 30 pips, but go all the way back to the close of New York, which it just had to do today, didn't it? It got right up there, and then as soon as it did, it said, "Okay, I've touched it," and it quit, and it went back down. So our first trade in the $1,000 challenge, and our first trade was successful. So that is great and wonderful news. So now what we're going to do is we're going to delete all these lines, and we're going to do our setup. It's Monday evening now, after the close of the New York market. So we're going to go over to that close, which is right here at 1700. So if I can put my finger on the right one, or none at all, apparently. No, I'm not able to do it. Okay, so this green candle just to the left of the 1700 line is where we want to mark the New York close. So we're going to draw a new horizontal line, and for some reason my software has given completely up on me. So let's take a pause and we'll be right back.
All right, so we are back indeed, and we're going to draw that horizontal line at 136.043. So we will just ask for a drawing here, and we will put it right there. So the close of the 1655 period is how the New York market ended. You can see some time has transpired since we had our little technical glitch and the pair has moved upward. Let's see how far it has moved. So New York closed at 136.04, so we're going to be looking for 136.34. So we are going to do another drawing, and we're going to have to go up a bit. Okay, 34, let's try 34.3. Oops, had it there. Okay, 34.3. So it has actually gone above that, but come back down. So now let's draw the line below. So that will be 135.743. So we'll drag this down. Looks like we're going to get 42. Okay. So now we have our three horizontal lines. We'll put in the vertical line at the New York close, just so that we have that as a reference point as far as the pairs going up and down. And that will be I seem to have this problem every time where I highlight it and I want to drag it over and the whole chart moves. Yeah, and that's what's happening to me again. So this line is off, so let's just delete it. Let's add another vertical line and just see if we can get it closer to where it needs to be right now. All right, close enough. It's on the 1700. So that is where we started, and you can see it's gone up. So now at this point we would not have a trade because we're inside the two outer lines. It's possible it just barely breached that 30 pip limit, so it's possible it may cross over the New York close and go down again. That's still okay at this point, it hasn't ventured off too far. So we will look to see what happens at the Tuesday opening of London, which is midnight Pacific and 3 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll have a video to see how that came out and whether we were able to make a trade or not. That's all for now. Okay, so from our home screen of our trading, we can go to trades and we will see that we did have the Monday trade, and you can see right there that we made $72. So our risk was 48 and we made 72. So that's again our 1.5 ratio of the stop loss to the take profit, 20 pips to 30 pips. And if we go back to our account, you can see that we now have 20,000, excuse me, not 20,000, $2,072. So we went from our starting point of 2,000 with our first trade being a winning one to 2,072. So we'll continue to check in on this through the week to see how we're doing. All right, so we'll take a look at the Tuesday London opening trade. So you can see the vertical line on the chart, which represents the Monday New York close. We then drifted up from that middle line to the top line, and we bumped it up a couple of times, kind of stayed on that line. And then let's look and see where we were at 3 a.m. So at 3 a.m., you can see that we were below the line. Let's go ahead and draw an oval, and we'll just point this out. So you can see that at 3 a.m., the red candle first at 255, and then we ended the period just barely above the 30 pips up horizontal line, but we had already reached that point, and by 3 a.m., it just wasn't enough to go ahead and put in a sell order. Now, what happened is just a few minutes later, the pair went up above the 30 pip line and then almost immediately just tumbled down and went out. So if the timing on this had been just a little different, it would have been a winner. But instead, because it was within the three lines at 3 a.m., it was a no trade situation. So that is the Tuesday opening of London, no trade. Next video we'll look at will be the setup on Tuesday night for the Wednesday opening trade possibility. All right, so we're back and we're going to take a look at the New York close on Tuesday for our setup for the London opening. So we will expand this a little bit so that we can see 1700. We'll put our finger here and we're off by one. So this process should be getting pretty familiar to you by now. We're setting up for the close, and then the next video we'll be looking at the opening to see if there were any trades. All right, so 1700 opened at 135.840. So that looks to be right about where the prior period closed. So 135.840. So we will put in a horizontal line there. All right. Oops. All right. So as we can see, it was a little lower. There was a tiny gap here. So we're just going to push that down to the bottom of the red candle body, which is really where the period closed. So it's 825.
So that is our New York close. So now we're going to put in two more horizontal lines for 30 pips away above and 30 pips away below. So above, that would be 12. So 136, 12, 5. So let's try to do that. Okay. So 82 and 12, and then 30 lower would be 52. We'll ask for another drawing there. Oops. Okay, 52 right there. Okay, so now those should look equal distant, and they do. So we have our upper and lower line, and then all that's left to do is just draw a vertical line to use as a reference point when we come in tomorrow. So we will do a vertical line, and we will put it right there. Okay, so now we will see where this goes overnight, and we'll see if we have a trade at the London opening on Wednesday, which again, as you know, is midnight Pacific and 3 a.m. Eastern Time, the London Open. All right, until the next video. All right, so for Tuesday night leading into Wednesday morning, I've drawn another vertical line which represents the London Open. So you can see here from the two vertical lines, from one on the left to the one on the right, that we went both above and below the middle line, which was the New York close, but we never even approached either line that was 30 pips away from the New York close through the London opening, so there was no trade. So that's all we're going to do for this week. We are going to let you do the setup tonight for the Wednesday night close of New York, leading into the opening of Thursday morning, and the same for Thursday night, leading into Friday morning. So, two more potential trading days this week, and we will check in with you on those on our Sunday video. What you're listening to now is coming out on the Wednesday video. And if we have anything interesting to look at on Sunday for the Thursday and Friday potential trades, we'll talk about it then. Otherwise, we'll talk about some more general subjects rather than just looking at that graph and setting up and potentially entering and watching the trades. All right, so until Sunday, I am Scott, your host for Foreign Currencies with Scott.